Hey guys, it's Courtney with the Kitchen Garden, and today I have some freshly harvested raspberries, both black and red, that I just picked out of the yard. And I'm going to, normally I would take it and make some raspberry jam, which is perfect for storing your berries in that it's gonna last. But I'm actually out of half-pint jars, which is typically what I use because my kids won't go through it that fast. I don't know why. Who doesn't love raspberry jam? But anyways, so today, instead of that typical recipe, I'm gonna be making a quick raspberry crumble, which is a delicious dessert. It takes literally minutes. I use a similar recipe in strawberry season for making a strawberry crumble, but it's a lovely dessert that you can just toss in the oven really as you're sitting down to dinner, and then it's ready in 30 to 45 minutes, depending on your oven, of course. But I'm gonna show you how to make it today, and I promise you're gonna love it. So let's get started. So let's get started. Here I have a medium-sized bowl, my fresh berries, and a cornstarch and sugar mixture. And so I'm just going to use a fork to gently combine them. A fork kind of acts as a small whisk so that you can combine them evenly and be able to spread them over your berries, no problem. Now take your fresh berries that you've washed and dried a little bit and add them to your bowl. And then we're going to take our cornstarch sugar mix and we're going to sprinkle it over the top. Make sure to get it all. Now grab a spatula, or I guess a scraper you could call it, and we're going to gently toss the berries. We just want to make sure that we're not being too rough with them because we don't want to smash them up before we add them to our dish where we're going to make our crumble. And I typically make a crumble in an 8x8 Pyrex, is as my mom would call it, so a nice Pyrex dish. Any kind of dish of similar size though should work, whether it's a round baker or even something that's a little bit bigger. That'll be okay too. It just depends on how deep you want your crisp to be, or how thin I should say. So once you've got them nice and coated, grab the dish you're planning to use. You want to spray it with some cooking spray so cleanup is easier, and just pour your coated berries into your pan and then use your rubber spatula or whatever you're using to spread them out evenly. We don't want any kind of lower pockets. It's not rocket science. I think you guys will be able to figure it out pretty well. But this also gives you a chance to see that they're all coated pretty evenly. All right, let's work on that crumble now. So here I've got my flour and my rolled oats and my brown sugar all mixed in a bowl. And you can go ahead and add your cinnamon at this point as well. Either way, but you just want to use that fork again. You can use the exact same fork you used for your cornstarch and sugar, and you just want to make sure there's no clumps, especially with that brown sugar, because it tends to want to clump when it's being stored. So here's my cinnamon, and if you prefer more cinnamon flavor, add more. This is cold butter cut into chunks, and you can either use your fork to cut it in. If you have a pastry cutter, you can use that as well, or you can just use your hand. Your hand's going to be a little warmer. It's going to melt that butter a little faster. So cut it in. We want coarse crumbles here. At this point, you could also have put these ingredients into a food processor and pulsed it a few times. That will you won't have the same shape of oats, as in like it's going to grind those oats up if you use a food processor, but it's really not going to affect the flavor very much, just a little bit more of the texture on top, but it's still delicious. So if you don't have a lot of time to do this crumble by hand, by all means use a food processor to save yourself some time. There is no shame in that whatsoever. All right, you're working on your coarse crumbles here, and it's coming together slowly but surely. And remember, this is what makes a crumble is this kind of
strudel topping here, streusel topping, however you want to pronounce it. And it's a very simple 3-component, at least for us. Always use oats, flour, and brown sugar. And then you can add what spices you want. If you want to add some nutmeg or some cardamom, depending on the type of fruit you're using as well. This topping is pretty versatile. You could use it for, I know I use it for strawberry crumble. You could do blueberries. Any of those kind of softer skinned fruits work really well for this recipe, but you could also use apples or something like that as well. It would be perfect. All right, it's getting close. Kind of pea-sized crumbles is the goal, but if it's not perfect, it's okay because that butter is going to melt as it gets into the oven. And of course, your oven should already be preheated to 350 degrees. This is a great dessert because you can put this together as you're making dinner, and then as you sit down to dinner with your family, or if you've got company over, you can simply slide this into the oven as you guys are sitting down to dinner. It takes about 35 to 45 minutes to bake, and then you've got dessert piping hot as you guys are finishing up your meal. So it really is a perfect dessert for company or just for a special night when you happen to have some fresh berries on hand. Okay, so I think we're right where we want to be. So let's go ahead and we're going to grab our dish in just a second and move it over. And we're going to sprinkle this all over the top. It may not touch every edge, and that's okay. We're just going to try to cover as much of the fruit as we can. Okay, you can wash your hands in a second. Now we're going to sprinkle it over the top. Perfect. Okay, and your hands are dirty already, so you might as well go for it. Just spread it over. There's no science to it. And then we're going to take it and slide it into the oven. 350 degrees, 35 to 45 minutes. And voila! You're going for a nice golden brown top. Here we go. So when you want to serve it warm, you can let it cool for a few minutes, but you can see you get kind of a, you can crack the top of it with your spoon, scoop it out. You see how that cornstarch has thickened up those berries. Nice, good serving. And you can eat it just like this, or I love it with a scoop of whipped cream or vanilla ice cream. It's absolutely delicious. There you go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe for raspberry crumble. It'll become a family favorite.
So there it is, guys. If you're looking for a super easy dessert to make in the summertime with what's fresh, then a raspberry crumble is a great way to do it. You can also sub in blackberries or strawberries. Blueberries might be a little different. They have a little bit of a tougher, thicker skin on them, but it's also delicious with a big scoop of vanilla ice cream, or a little scoop, or some freshly whipped cream. But I wanted you to get the idea of the crumble with the oats in it. Has a nice crunch on top, and it's sure to be a family favorite. So hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for stopping by, and make sure to subscribe to get more videos about gardening and garden fresh recipes.